All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem El Shai, by Shem Kakodash, the honors that apostles and elders get millstone, rule well, teach well, being great example to our young brothers. A peace and blessed, all full elect, will on part in number. I'm the brother Kadar, coming back from another video. It's going to be a history lesson. This history episode, part 3 of 4, going into the fall of Rome from the history.com. I was just doing this video, but Satan was hating, of course, made the video cut off for some reason. I don't know why I'd be doing that, but I'm gonna just get into it. Number one, invasions by barbarian tribes. Lord willing, it don't cut off again. The most straightforward theory of Western Rome's collapse pins the fall on a string of military losses sustained against outside forces. Rome had tangled with Germanic tribes for centuries, but by the 300s, barbarian groups like Goth had encroached beyond the empire's borders. The Romans, whether a Germanic uprising in the late 4th century, but in 410, the Visigoth king Alaric successfully sacked the city of Rome. The empire spent the next several decades under constant threat before the Eternal City, the quote-unquote Eternal City, was raided again in 455. This time by the Vandals. Finally, in 476, the Germanic leader Odoacer staged a revolt and deposed the Emperor Romulus. Hey, that's funny, man. Augustulus, from then on, no Roman emperor will ever again rule from a post in Italy. And it started hey, the Lord is funny, man, because, Rome started in Italy, and the first ruler, the first person who found Rome was named after Romulus, and it ended in Italy, by the last king, Romulus, Augustulus. That was just funny to me, but from then on, no Roman emperor will ever again rule from a post in Italy, leading many to cite 476 as the year the Western Empire suffered its death blow. Economic troubles and over-reliance on slave labor. Even as Rome was under attack from outside forces, it was also crumbling from within thanks to a severe financial crisis. And one way how to take down a strong opponent is by the inside. You may not infiltrate from the outside, or you might not break in from the outside, but if you get from the inside, you could cause heavy damage. Constant wars and overspending had significantly lightened imperial coffers, right? Constant wars, it started to add up, man. They didn't have enough money to fund it, all right? Which led them to tax their citizens, man. They taxed the Israelites in the slums and etc., man. Even they middle and high class, man. And oppressive taxation, I just said that. And inflation, all right, inflation, man. All right, so they currency, what did they call it in Rome? Denarii. I believe they call it denarii. That was their money in Rome. All right. And one thing they used to do was, the American dollar ain't got no value. You could wipe your ass with it. It's just paper, man. All right. So what they do is they keep printing more and more paper, which continues to cause more inflation. Keeps weakening the value of the dollar. And one thing they did the same thing in Rome, man. Showing you ain't nothing new under the sun. Because what they did, they would take the coin, and when they would come into the place, they would clip the end part of the coin and put it in a bucket. And when the clip part of the coin stacked up in a bucket, they would melt it and make more coins, man, which caused inflation again. Well, more inflation, But in the hope of avoiding tax, man, many members of the wealthy class had even fled to the countryside and set up independent fiefdoms. At the same time, the empire was rocked by a labor deficit. Rome's economy depended on slaves to till its fields and work as craftsmen, and its military might have traditionally provided a fresh influx of conquered people to put to work. But when expansion ground to a halt in the 2nd century, Rome's supply of slaves and other war treasures began to dry up. A further blow came in the 5th century when the Vandals claimed North Africa and began disrupting the empire's trade by prowling the Mediterranean as pirates. When its economy faltering and its commercial and agricultural production in decline, the empire began to lose its grip on Europe. All right, and called Allah and Allah Yahweh Shema Shah. This is 1144. All right, yeah, man. That was going into the history. Well, it was processing on how Rome would fall. Due to prophecy, of course. The rise of the Eastern Empire, because Rome was split in two. By the Emperor Diocletian, because Rome was so big, lack of communication and etc. And food sourcing, etc. It was really hard to rule from Rome, all the way from France, Spain, all the way, know, ruling from east all the way to west, down to Africa, of course. But um, the fate of Slovakia. The fate of Western Rome was partially sealed in the late 3rd century when the emperor Diocletian divided the empire in two halves. Slovakia. The Western Empire seated in the city of Milan in the Eastern Empire and Byzantium, later known as Constantinople. All right, and Constantinople was, Constantine was a Jake, and this was during the Holy Roman Empire, so this was Jake ruling now. All right, and the person that conquered Rome was, Constantinople was an Edomite named Mehmed the Conqueror. He was the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. All right, and he was an Edomite. They took down Constantinople in 1453, and they changed the name from Constantinople to Istanbul. That's the city. All right, but the country is Turkey. So that's why over there Turkey, in Iran is a lot of Edomites and Elamites. That's why Apostle Harvey bringing that out a lot. The division made the empire more easily governable in a short term, all right, like I just said, but over time the two have drifted apart. East and West failed to adequately work together to combat outside threats, lack of communication. And the two often squabble over resources and military aid. As the Gulf widened, the largely Greek-speaking Eastern Empire grew in half wealth, while the Latin-speaking West descended into economic crisis. Most importantly, the strength of the Eastern Empire severe to divert barbarians' invasion to the west. Emperors like Constantine ensured that the city of Constantinople was fortified and well guarded. But Italy and the city of Rome, which only has symbolic value for many in the East, were left vulnerable. The Western political structure will finally disintegrate in the 5th century, but the Eastern Empire endured, all right, because the West, they fell first in some form for another 1,000 years before being overwhelmed by the Ottoman Empire in the 1400s. Right, 1453 is when they officially fell down. Because they had to take the Ottoman king. All right, they tried 23 or 22 times. All right, before Mehmed the Conqueror became the king, and he finally took them down due to prophecy. And this history is cold, man. Number 4, overexpansion and military overspending. At its height, the Roman Empire stretched from the Atlantic Ocean all the way to the Euphrates River in the Middle East, but its grandeur may have also been its downfall. With such a vast territory to govern, the empire faced an administrative and logistical nightmare. Even with their excellent road systems, the Romans were unable to communicate quickly. Right, and I mentioned that like 5 minutes ago. Enough to manage their holdings, Rome struggled to marshal enough troops and resources to defend its frontiers, right, which is why they split. Local rebellions and outside attacks. By the 2nd century of the empire, Hadrian was forced to build his famous wall in Britain just to keep the enemy at bay. As more and more funds were funneled into the military upkeep of the empire, and what is America doing? Every year, 700 billion into the military, man. They just had added the Space Force. All right, not even including the 10 billion a year that they give to Israel. Military upkeep of the empire, technological advancement slowed, and Rome's civil infrastructure fell into disrepair. Government corruption and political instability. If Rome's sheer size made it difficult to govern, ineffective and inconsistent leadership only served to magnify the problem. Being the Roman Empire has always been a particular dangerous job, right? Because they was offing each other, man, killing each other left to right, family, it don't matter. But during the tumultuous 2nd and 3rd century, it nearly became a death sentence. Civil war thrust the empire into chaos, and more than 20 men took the throne in the span of only 75 years, right? Because they was killing each other left and right, man. Usually after the murder of the predecessor, the Praetorian Guard, the emperor's personal guards, assassinated and installed new sovereigns at will, and once even auctioned the spot off to the highest bidder, man. The political rot also extended to the Roman Senate, which failed to temper the excesses of the emperor due to his own widespread corruption and incompetence. As the situation worsened, civic pride waned and many Roman citizens lost trust in their leadership. The arrival of Huns and migration of barbarian tribes. The barbarian attacks on Rome partially stemmed from a mass migration caused by the Huns' invasion of Europe in the late 4th century. Or they the one that pushed the Germanic tribes to the borders of Rome, which caused problems, and they took down the Western Roman Empire. When these Eurasian warriors rampaged through northern America, all right, many Germanic tribes to the border of Roman Empire, the Roman grudgingly allowed members of the Visigoth tribe to cross south of the Danube and into the safety of Roman territory, but they treated them with extreme cruelty. According to the historian Ammianus Marcellinus, Roman officials ever forced the starving Goths to trade their children to slavery in exchange for dog meat, and brutalizing the Goths, the Romans created a dangerous enemy within their own border. When the oppression became too much to bear, the Goths rose up in revolt and eventually ruled a Roman army and killing the Eastern Empire Emperor Velen during the Battle of Adrianople in AD 378. The shocked Romans negotiated a flimsy peace with the barbarians, but the truth unraveled in 410 when the Goth king Alaric moved west and sacked Rome. With the Western Empire weakened, Germanic tribes like the Vandals and Saxons, and those are Jakes, man, you know, the Anglo-Saxons, angelic sons of Isaac, those were Jakes, man. Showing you this the rise, that was the rise of the, let me get Revelation 13. Let me get Revelations. Salaki, hold on real quick. Revelation 6, I think. Damn, so like I can't even find the precept, but scriptures say Esau gonna damn Salaki. This was the time when Jakes was coming into the that's why they call it the Dark Age. But I just can't remember the precept, man. When they said Esau was gonna be sealed up 1,000 years. But it's all good. But were able to surge. The Vandals and the Saxons were able to surge across his borders and occupy Britain, Spain, and North Africa. Right. That's why you got they call it the Vikings. Those were Jakes. They call it the Knights. Those were Jakes. The who fell into that quote unquote Christianity, which fell away from its natural cause, which was serving the Most High. But they went off to other things. Then you had the Moors. So it was Jakes into 3 different things, man. Christianity and the loss of traditional values, right? And when it's talking about Christianity, it's not talking about the original Christianity. All right, so the decline of Rome dovetailed with the spread of Christianity. Some have argued that the rise of new faith helped contribute to the empire's fall. The Edict of Milan legalized Christianity in 313 and later became the state religion in 380. These decrees end the centuries of persecution, but they may have also eroded the traditional Roman value system. Christianity displays that polytheistic Roman religion, which viewed the emperor as having divine status, also shifted focus away from the glory of the state into a sole deity. Meanwhile, popes and other church leaders took an increased role in political affairs, which all they asked was corrupt, man. 18th century historian Edward Gaussen was the most famous proponent of this theory, but his take has since been widely criticized. While the spread of Christianity may have played a small role in curbing Roman civic virtue, most scholars now argue that its influence paled in comparison to military, economic, and administrative factors. And I'm leave that there, of course. But wait, Salak, I could read Salaki. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. Lord willing, it was edifying through the spirit and power. Yeah, by Shimon Shai. But Salaki, let me find this precept real quick. Bear with me, Baba Shah. Oh, so that was Revelation 20, Salakia. Revelation 20. I saw an angel, all right, which was Yahweh Shai, come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, which is Europe, and a great chain by his hand. He laid hold on the dragon, that is the old serpent, all right, it's talking about Esau, which the devil and Satan bound him 1,000 years, right? That's when the Roman Empire fell in, and the Holy Roman Empire came into, into dominance, which was Jake. All right, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nation no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. Right, man. Which is the Renaissance period, which they started to paint over the faces of the dark Israelite icons of of Europe, and Russia, etc. All right, till that 1,000 years should be fulfilled. After that, he must be loose a little season, right? And now he about to get right back into slavery, man, because his kingdom is done, man. All right. But I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Al Shai, Shem Kakodash, Shalom, and the Bible Ball.